let's just start with the subject of Stephen Moore. Would you support his candidacy to the Fed?
No, I've actually been pretty outspoken that I wouldn't. And one of the reasons why is what we saw this morning is that he sees his candidacy, one, as a candidacy in a campaign, and two, he sees an extension of the president's economic agenda. And that's not what the Fed's role is. That would sort of cross a really important line, particularly for the most important central bank in the world, the Federal Reserve,
right,
in terms of being beholden to the whims of one political ally instead of the economy overall.
Steve, what do you think? Because to me, in a way, there's sort of an elegant way to be political, or sort of quietly be political, and then a more overt way, and certainly Stephen Moore falls in the latter category.
Yeah, I mean, I think we can describe, the political landscape that we've seen. Where would President Trump fall in that landscape for you, Kelly?
Yeah,
same
pretty
place
obvious.
that Stephen Moore is. So that's why we're even having this discussion right now. But I think the bigger question is, what would the market say?
Right.
Markets would probably, he's been a very vocal person against Powell's raising of rates. The market chose to back up that viewpoint. So I think the markets would like a Stephen Moore on the board.
Steve, can I ask you?
But that has nothing to do with his personal beliefs or anything else.
Sure. I'm just curious personally, what do you think about? Would he hurt the Fed's credibility? We were talking about, yes, okay, the market would prefer someone who likes rate cuts, fine. But in the longer term, do you think he would hurt their credibility being a member of the Fed board?
So I think the problem with that is, I guess the answer would be, if it's a media outcry, of course it would hurt it, because I don't think we've dug as deep into anybody else. We've never had a type of person like a Stephen Moore. So to Diane's point, this has been a very outgoing, vocal person who's been very political, and I don't think we've ever had someone that's been nominated to the board that has fit this description. So it's hard to find an apples to apples opinion. So I would fall into that category. We've never had a candidate like, or let's not call him a candidate, a nominee like Stephen Moore.
Steve Liesman, what do you think?
I think the Fed can abide a single political appointee, maybe two. But the trouble is, when you get beyond that, what you're effectively introducing is third world volatility into the most important central bank in the world, right? We wonder, is a dictator or a despot of a third world country.
Hang on, before you start throwing around despot, let me just add.
I'm not talking about the president. I'm just making the analogy. Let me finish the analogy.
But here's my point. We've seen, just because he is more outspoken, this is kind of what I was asking Diane. We know other people have been assigned to the Fed board, probably with pretty strong political views. It's not to say they're going to bring them to the table, but it's also not to say that they're going to leave them at home.
Yeah, but most of the Fed people I know, and I've known a lot of them over the 20 years, don't really have extremely strong political views. To finish the analogy, I don't mean to say this is what I mean is third world type volatility. You have a dictator, and you wonder, will that dictator pressure the central bank to change policy as an investor in that emerging market, for example? And here, if that happened, you don't believe they would listen to him, because you don't believe they're political appointees.
But Steve, if they're finished,
if they're full of political appointees, then the market has to worry that they would really listen to the leader in that sense.
Diane, let me bring you back in on that and also ask you, what kind of difference would it make, for example, if he were sitting on the Fed today that was deciding interest rates?
Well, first of all, I agree with Steve. One vote will not change the Fed, and he is not going to alone change the Fed, and that is important to remember. But it sets a really dangerous precedent of pointing people in a much more overt way that are driven by political gains and political short-term gains rather than long-term economics.
But what about his record on the economy, Diane? If Steve Moore says, look, maybe I have some insight. No, maybe he says, look, I mean, but was he right in December? Was he not? The market came around to his point of view, which was to say we shouldn't be having these hikes. The economy can't support it.
And a broken clock is right twice a day, Kelly.
No, wait, he was not right. Let's be clear about this. He was not right. The economy has rebounded smartly. The market was wrong about the coming recession. We're now in a place. We had 3% first quarter growth.
They shouldn't have hiked in December.
That was right or wrong. The market.
Grasso,
we can only make judgment on. We can only make judgment on what the market has told us. The market sold off aggressively when Powell raised rates. So the market did not want a rate hike. The market
but
cannot
Steve,
bear a rate hike.
That doesn't make the market right about the outlook for the economy.
That's my point.
The inherent market forecast was wrong.
Direction.
Diane,
the inherent market, the economists were right, the market was wrong.
I'll give Ms. Swonk the last word here.
The bottom line is he's really shown us he's willing to change his views on policy for political whims. He's inconsistent. He doesn't have a consistency there. There is also this issue of all of his writing and how he perceives the economy, which is to limit it in terms of sexism, misogyny. Those things are economically undermining that undermines the economy and his goals and what he's talking about, what he wants to achieve.
Diane, you're giving us a bombshell
not what the Federal
to end
Reserve
on.
does.